Yes, my friends, welcome back. Three massive stories to break down today. We discuss Kai Havertz Arsenal, as Arsenal are making moves to sign Havertz this window. To move on, we've now turned our attention to Everton's midfield enforcer in Amadou Onana. And to end things, we discuss the latest news behind Mason Mount and Man United, as today United have had their official £40 million bid rejected by us. As we all know, the transfer window officially opened today, and I guess in typical fashion, of course, the stories coming out today are absolutely insane and crazy, and I guess this giving us like a bit of an idea behind how crazy and long this summer is set to be for our football club. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let's get a lot of likes, let's go over 3k likes, share your thoughts and opinions, and without wasting any more time. So right now, let's start things off by discussing one of the breaking stories of this evening. And Arsenal have made their intent clear, and they're hoping to sign Kai Havertz from us in this summer window. Wow. Now, in terms of the valuation we're placing on Kai, that's set at around £75 million, which is currently too much for Arsenal. But at the same time, I'm thinking, if you're Arsenal making a move from one of our players here, you got to pay a premium. He's got 2 years left on this deal, right? Obviously, you're literally domestic rivals too. Don't be thinking you'll get a discount for him, yeah? Now, as we know, Havertz isn't too keen on extending his contract with us, hence why he can leave us this summer for his maximum value, as he currently has 2 years left. And as we all know, our business this summer, the strategy this summer is a one in, one out type of policy. You know, we must sell before we can buy. Hence why every player can leave if we get the right price for them. So let's see how this story continues to play out. Obviously, there's still minor interest from both Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Could Arsenal force these clubs to make moves? And if they do so, could we have 3 clubs who are bidding to sign Havertz that could potentially boost the value of his sale? You'd like to think so if Havertz really feels like he wants to leave us. But I think it'd be very easy to look at Kai, think you're a snake, why do you want to go to a rival like that? But I also think there's a different perspective here, and it does communicate how do these players actually feel about this current project and what's happening behind the scenes on a day-to-day basis, because deep down we'll never get the full context and idea or clues behind what day-to-day life is like at our football club, but these guys are going to do that. And sometimes actions reflect mentalities, how people feel about things, right? And the fact that so many are kind of open to leaving as well too, even though the club have expressed themselves they're more than happy to sell if we get the right price, I feel like it's creating this mad summer window that we're potentially about to witness. Worried now about Arsenal for next season. You know, they've got Declan Rice to want to make sure that he wants to sign for them. Obviously, Kai Havertz is open to signing for them too. You know, they've secured Champions League football too. They're looking to take things to the next level right now. And I guess it makes sense because they have been building their projects a lot longer than we have. And now they're a team that have like an identity under Arteta, this fluidity behind how they attack. And in that sense, I can most definitely see why they would target Kai Havertz, a guy who is still young, has a lot more room for growth, who can play in any position that they need to play in, right in midfield, as the deep line forward up front, you know, even as an attacking mid if Arteta feels the need to do so. And I'm sure you guys are envisioning things like, you know, Van Persie, Bergkamp comparisons. I don't think that would be crazy if Havertz was to ever really properly achieve his potential. And that's because with Havertz, it's not ever really been about the position he plays in. As Havertz himself says, he can play anywhere. I think what we forget is how you play your football, what your system's actually saying, you know? And I kind of feel like we played this very pragmatic, very negative, very predictable, pedestrian way of football this past few seasons. And for guys like Havertz to really flourishes off when he can play one touch and move, you know, when he has players to combine with, when he can ghost inside the box, that's where his shooting effectiveness and his goal scoring prowess actually comes from. And it's literally in 4K on YouTube if you want to look at Bayer Leverkusen comps. And as we're seeing recently, Arsenal are not getting their signings wrong. They're looking to continue to build and grow and improve their team. And I do feel a bit uncomfortable that we could be open to selling a lot of our players to literal domestic rivals across us in the league, as long as the fee's right. Are we forgetting that rivals around us are seeing value in players that we're more than happy to sell for the right price? Regardless, my friends, I do feel like we'll be discussing a lot more about this Havertz Arsenal story. I've got a lot more thoughts and opinions, but I'm going to save them for future reports that are bound to come over the next few days and weeks, right? So right now, how do you feel about this news? Are you happy to let Kai go? Are you a bit frustrated by this news? Are you just maybe a bit in disbelief? Let us know how you're feeling. Comment below. Right now, my friends, let's move on to one of the second breaking stories of today, and we discuss Amadou Onana of Everton, because the report comes from an acclaimed, reliable Belgian reporter in Sachiavelli or something like that. Apologies for getting his name wrong, but he confirms the fact that we have revived our interest in signing Onana in this window, and maybe it makes a lot of sense. Right now, Southampton are quoting fees of around 50 million to release Lavia in this summer window. I think that's a crazy valuation for a club that are literally relegated. And for me, I feel like we could actually bide our time to sign Lavia for later on, right? And obviously, you're looking at Moises Caicedo, with the main factor being behind that deal that we must sell players first to be able to even fund that move. So, in true Chelsea fashion, we have to look at alternative options in case our main options fail and blow up in our faces. And in that sense, I'm not going to stand here and feel a bit cynical around Amadou Onana. One thing I've said consistently in this window is that this is a great market for defensive mids. This is a great market. Tons of great young players available in the market that can be developed and molded and improved upon. And all I'm going to say is this: if there's one concern I have outside of Onana, actually it kind of just is around all the young guys we're looking towards, is that just because you're signed for big money at 21 years old, it doesn't mean that you're the finished article right now. You're only paying that price just to be able to sign them. I do kind of feel like the fees that clubs pay for players now are like the most redundant they've ever been in football history. But these guys need time to also become the players they have the potential to become. But I'm not going to lie and act like Onana doesn't have a lot of exciting capabilities around his attributes in his game, right? Regardless though, Everton are quoting fees of around £55 million, which already is just way too much money. But of course, it's no surprise that all of the defensive mids we're looking at in this market right now, we express our intended interest of most of them in the January window. So it only makes sense that we go back to players that we've already held discussions with. And back in January, Onana was more than fine signing for us. He was kind of hoping the move would go through. Everton said no, they had to survive and stay in the league. It worked in their favour, but right now, they need to sell. They're in a financial situation. They've allowed guys like Cody to leave them because he was like one of the highest earning players at the club at the time. And obviously, they only have a few big sellable assets, and Onana could generate them some big money if things are done right. Still, I'll give some quick thoughts and opinions behind this news, and to be fair with you, I've been screaming out for this holding six profile in our team for years. And now that we have Enzo Fernandez, a guy that should be playing his best years at my club as an 8, where he can affect all phases of the game, build up, midfield and final third, you have to sign profiles like Onana to allow guys like Enzo to be Enzo, right? And in that sense, Onana gives me a lot of similarities between him and first gen Declan Rice. I think Rice is a better player because he's a bit older, more experienced. But it gives me confidence that Onana is definitely not far away from also being a leading DM holding 6 in the league. Now, some people may feel Nini, is Onana even a 6? Was he not breaking into the opposition box at Everton last season trying to score from headers? For sure, but we can't forget this, right? In the modern game, when players are coached and developed right now, they're coached and developed to play in a multitude and variety of ways, because if you do become a professional football player, you don't know who your manager is going to be, right? So you have to be adaptable to many different ways of playing and, ways around your game, right? And in that sense, Onana has some great capabilities, but I really feel like if he was developed to be one of the leading holding 6 players in the Premier League, I mean, consider the guy's frame and physicality. That has to be applied, right? Well, he's 6'4", he's 6'5", and he'll probably get even bigger. He hasn't even properly filled out yet. Could he get to Yaya Toure type of weight? I'm not too sure. But this is a guy that's already showing great signs that he can read the game defensively very well. That he can break the play up really well. If we're going to be this full 3-3 team, I need to have an imposing 6 in front of my back 4, behind my attacking players, sweeping up the danger, right? This is a role in football that will never ever die. And at the same time, the guy releases the ball quickly when he wins it. He can carry the ball, he can play end to end. If the game's open, he's there, he's ready. If the game is a bit congested, he's got the passing capabilities to also maintain his quality too. And at the same time, the guy is aerially dominant, and that's going to help us defending set pieces. It's been our Achilles heel for how many years? Last season we conceded so many goals from set pieces, and if, and pray this doesn't happen, but if Kepa was to remain here, we need a few more imposing characters in our team, right, to actually help this guy not get bullied in his own books. But as I'm saying about him being young, he's not the finished article. I'm hoping that if the strategy is to keep signing all these young guys, that we're really going to develop them to grow. But just because they cost big money, I'm still not expecting like an instant title challenge. I like to think that be positive things for next season, knowing the fact that we're going to have like a game every single week now. That will work in our favor. But we have to remember that we must create the environment and conditions for these guys to achieve their potential if we're going to be spending all this money to sign guys like him. So in my opinion, this is a very smart alternative. I really feel like Onana could be one of the leading DMs in the Premier League in maybe a few years. So how do you guys feel about this news? Let us know below. Are you happy or are you annoyed that Onana could be the backup to guys like Casado, Rice, and maybe even others? Alright now my friends, let's end things by discussing another breaking story, and that focuses on Mason Mount and Man United. Now Matt Law has officially dropped the news, and Man United have officially placed a 40 million bid for Mason Mount that was swiftly turned down like a few days ago. We've known this for a while. Man United feel like Mason Mount is not worth more than 50 million, and they're probably in the right because he has 1 year left in his deal. So it's quite interesting that we're still insistent that he's only going to be sold for 70 million, and that's like 5 million less than Kai Havertz that has 2 years left on his deal. So there's definitely a reason, a strategy behind why we're doing this. But regardless, we rejected their move, but Man United still feel quite confident that they can get this deal over the line. Ten Hag has given many positive affirmations with Mason Mount, and Mason Mount has heard the projects and feels like, yes, if I was to leave Chelsea, I'm making the right move in my career going to Man United, playing for a manager that will play me week in, week out in my best position and best role, because Ten Hag's been consistent about his admiration for Mason Mount over how many years now. Still though, I feel like it's going to be an incredibly tense summer around Mason. So technically, he could wind down his contract, leave on a free next summer, get even better offers and even more money, and we're absolutely screwed because we earn absolutely nothing. So it's a pretty delicate balancing act right now where I feel like we have to earn a bit more money off his sale because it is a domestic rival, but it can't be something too egregious where backfires in our face, blows up in our face, and then we're letting a player of his quality leave for nothing, and then we've earned absolutely nothing from his sale. That wouldn't make sense. I still think to myself though, how the hell exactly has it actually come down to this? And I did release a video a few weeks back alluding to details I've been hearing and things I know behind the scenes. I think I'll just say it for what it is right now, but I mean, I don't really blame Mount or even his fam or reps for feeling a bit disrespected with how we've been treating him during these contract negotiations, because this guy literally had an offer that had been agreed upon before the World Cup. We know that Boli and Igbali were flying to the World Cup. That's when they saw Enzo Fernandez the first time, but they were going to enjoy the tournament whilst also hoping to secure Mason Mount's contract at the time. But Mount, because he's a professional, said, you know what, I want to focus solely on the national team because this is my first World Cup, right? And, I'll sign the contract once the World Cup's over. But once the World Cup ended, of course, negotiations passed on from the owners to the sporting directors in Paul Winsley, and then the offer was not there on the table. And the resulting offers that came afterwards, a 1 year extension that wasn't good enough, and an offer which doubled his existing terms, which wasn't close to the original offer that he agreed upon before the World Cup. So I'm sorry, if you like the player, if you don't like him, I'm sure you can be objective. You're going to feel a bit mugged off. You're going to feel a bit disrespected. I think it's common sense. And it kind of baffles me how it's actually come to this position, because there's many other people at this club that actually want Mount to remain here, and they're also a bit annoyed by what's happening. So I don't understand why we can't, boost the terms what we originally offered beforehand. As too much time passed now, where it's been this succession of, poor negotiations, failed negotiations, that's just kind of, annoyed the player right now. And he's thinking to myself, maybe it is best for my career to actually leave this club, but Pascal's new, because I don't feel if I can even trust staying here for these guys to get the best out of my career. Now that's only my opinion, but it wouldn't surprise me. Matt Law actually alludes in his article that Mount's not thinking about Man United purely based on finances. Of course, Champions League football is a factor, but naturally that would be a factor for anyone. And also he does confirm the fact that since negotiations moved on from the owners to the sporting directors. So if you're going to be like constantly bipolar around the player, then I'm not expecting this type of reaction from Mount. I mean, to be fair with you, we didn't actually come back to present more offers and start talks again until the managerial, of course, conversations and interviews with guys like Nagelsmann and Pochettino, who both stressed that Mount was key to their plans. And that's the only reason why these talks even literally happened again. Now, my thing is, all I can really hope for is that we continue to take this risk, right, of overvaluing Mason Mount, because he isn't worth 70 million on 1 year left. Let's keep things absolutely honest right now, yeah? But if you have to win the player over again, maybe you take that risk of keeping him at the football club, because Pochettino has him in his plans. Let's say he finds his form again under Pochettino. Let's say he loves his football again. Who knows if that opens up future conversations and negotiations to get him to secure his long-term future here. That could be a possibility if things are going in the right direction for us. But again, it's a big risk. And considering how we risk everything, how we risked it all last January, where we overspent, where we oversigned guys, where some of them didn't even have to come to the club in January. They could have come to us in the summertime. We risked it all in the hopes of pursuing Champions League football. It's backfired in our faces. It's now forced a situation where we must sell players now to even have to reinvest. And things get harder because the players we want to sign, who are top quality players, we can't even offer them Champions League football. And knowing how competitive the Premier League is right now, Newcastle looking to spend big, Arsenal, big ambitions, United, incredible investment around the corner soon. They've got CL football, City, treble winners. Liverpool, they'll be coming back. I mean, it's not a guarantee, right? So it's going to be an incredibly tense summer. The most important summer for a while. Because if we mess up this summer, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen for the following seasons. But regardless, that is all the latest news that's dropped today around Havertz, Onana, Mason Mount as well too. I promise I'm not crying about any of these stories, my guys. It's a stupid hay fever, man. I hate hay fever. It's the most annoying thing. But anyway, I think it's probably best for me to bounce now, because I actually need to catch this Flash film. So I hope you guys also watch it. Let's see if it's going to be good. And also have a good day. And most importantly, hit the like button and share your thoughts and opinions too. So I'm Nini FC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.